Liverpool played Brentford on the weekend. Liverpool lost to Brentford on the weekend, losing 3-2 at the GTAC Community Stadium. And surprise, surprise, it's another goal in the opening stages of the game. I think that's 4 games in a row where Liverpool conceded in the opening 15 minutes. And then another surprise, another set piece. It's really concerning that Liverpool haven't sorted these set piece issues out, but it's also concerning that whatever game plan Liverpool have, it's sort of thrown out the window when you concede so early again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting what you say there about they haven't sorted the set piece issues. My major concern is that that's not possible now. I'm starting to kind of believe around this team, really. I just do not think that the personnel are there to deal with the style of football that is, we're seeing throughout the Premier League now, which is very direct, very focused on set piece moments, throw-ins, corners, free kicks. They have got such outsized importance in comparison to basically any Premier League season I can ever remember. And I don't think this team is equipped to deal with it. Now, you can be the best set piece coach in the world. I don't know personally how well Aaron Briggs is doing. You can judge that, or Arne Slot himself, his influence on that. And he said they practiced on long throw-ins for the entirety of the training session the day before the game, and yet conceded one straight away. And there's an obvious reason for that, because you can train those situations as much as you want, but unless you are capable of winning first and second balls and you've got the physical profile to do that, then you take your life into your own hands. And it's as simple as Christopher Ayer, I think it is, wins the first header. And once that happens, it's game over. There is not a thing you can do about that, because if the ball lands for Brentford and it doesn't land for you, and there's, you can, like I say, you can talk about setup as much as you want. It's a crowded box and the ball can land anywhere. Once it lands for Brentford, it's over. So the key is you have to win the first header, and you have to have the physical profiles to deal with that. And I just don't think Liverpool do throughout the team, unfortunately. I think it's just been an increasing issue for them. I thought it was quite visible the back end of last season, the lack in physicality, and it was underlined in this Brentford game. And the problem is, this is a horrendous run that Liverpool have been on in terms of form, and we're talking about sorting out the issues they have. But as I say, I don't think that this is a sortable issue, because I look back and say, on one side it's good because it's probably the biggest issue and the one that's most fixable, in that, you look back to the Crystal Palace game, Liverpool were terrible, but they concede from a throw-in and a corner. Manchester United game, they concede early in that, they concede the winner through a corner. The first goal is through a long ball, direct physical play, and they lose out on that one. And then of course the goal goes in, and then of course this Brentford game, again with direct balls throughout the game, but of course a throw-in is the decisive goal in the game, and that is so early and ultimately proves to be kind of the winner, I guess. It's the 1 goal difference between the sides. So it's a problem that if you solved it, would solve 90% of Liverpool's problems, and they would have better results recently. They would still have issues that we would talk about, but they would feel like solvable issues. But the thing is with this one is that I'm so convinced now that it's not something you can solve outside of delving into the transfer window. And how crazy does that seem to say that when you're talking about a team that's just spent and changed so much in the team? But I actually think they had an issue with physicality last season, and the summer's business has made it worse, and they now need to rebalance that. And unfortunately, that means there's probably a few more defeats coming up. I think there's probably some more difficult games because everybody is playing this style now. Even Spurs, who are doing quite well in the league, they're very, very focused on set pieces. It's not just Brentford, it's Newcastle, it's basically everybody. So I think Liverpool are going to have a few more rough afternoons, unfortunately, coming up for this, and it can't be solved outside the window, which is, it's a little bit damning about the summer's business, and also worrying for the games that are to come. But I also think they'll win a few as well, by the way, because some of the other issues will solve themselves. But yeah, it's a set piece reliant and direct football reliant league, and Liverpool aren't equipped to cope with it, and I don't think they will be until they add some players in certain positions.
Well, thankfully there's a really easy fixtures coming up with, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Real Madrid and Man City. But I take it then that you completely agree with what Jamie Carragher was saying on Sky Sports, where he was just talking about Liverpool and how they can't compete with the teams in the Premier League like Arsenal can. Because if you look at how Arsenal have constructed their team, yes, they've been criticised, but at the same time, they've got players who can compete. They've got players who can battle for those second balls, whereas Liverpool, it doesn't seem like they can.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal are the perfect team to probably win this league, aren't they, at the end of the day, because this is exactly what it is, and they are the best at it. I don't think you could criticise Mikel Arteta for not recognising the importance of duels, because it's seemingly Arsenal's entire recruitment process is built upon that. But they are reaping the rewards, and maybe that's foresight from Arsenal to see which way the league was going. Maybe Arsenal have actually brought about this change by being so set piece focused themselves and being so physical, and everybody else has thought, well, that's an easy way for us to improve. So, but either way, I think Arsenal deserve credit for that, and I think Liverpool deserve a lot of criticism now. There's a lot of talk about the kind of manager and the position he's in, but as I say, I'm repeatedly of the view really that kind of Liverpool don't have the tools to deal with this problem. And the one for me who should be recognising that, which is recognising the trend in the league, because it's gone up this season, definitely, but it's been a trend towards this happening, hasn't it? In terms of set piece coaches have been popping up at all different clubs over recent years. The physical profile in the Premier League has just been getting bigger and bigger and taller and taller. And so we've been seeing that over a number of years now. As a sporting director, for me, your job is to recognise that trend and see how important these things are going to be, and then act accordingly. Now, as I say, either Arsenal got ahead of it or they started the trend, but they are there and they are perfectly able to deal with it. Liverpool instead, kind of certainly back end of last season, lost physical battle after physical battle, albeit the results were fairly stable regardless. But that was a sign to me that maybe something needed to change. And I really did, and I wrote about this in April. I thought they were going to add more physical players this summer. Instead, they did the complete opposite. They kind of said, well, we're going to put Florian Wirtz in our central midfield, who brought his incredible qualities, and I no doubt we will see those. It's not really a dual winner for me. Not somebody scrapping around for second balls, that's for sure. Rather than kind of having a centre-half profile at fullback, they went with those flying fullbacks. They got rid of Luis Diaz, who, not aerially dominant, but a dual winner in terms of both defensive and attacking duels. He would tend to have good numbers on terms of those. Cody Gakpo, not a similar profile down that left wing. So it's various areas of the team really, and you're just seeing the consequences of that now, which is that in this hyper physical league that the Premier League has become, Liverpool just look incredibly weak, and it's so easy to get cheap goals against them. And all the other issues they're having on top of that, I think that's the number one, because they're finding themselves behind in games early because of it. They're losing goals because of it. And this is a low scoring sport. So if you have a big issue like that, it's very easy to get a goal against you by literally just pumping balls into the box and seeing what happens. Teams are going to exploit it. So, yeah, I think Liverpool maybe deserves some criticism for not having recognised that trend and basically trying to go the other way, and for me, completely misjudging it.